Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to episode number 4 of Salty and I's big podcast that we decided to do together. It was a collaboration, something that we talked about. It's, of course, called Gaming News at Noon with Salty and Boom. And obviously, it just kind of just rolls off the tongue. I want to thank everybody that are in the chat that have been going back and forth. I've been getting messages saying, Boom, Salty, where are you? Well, guess what? We're here on the scene. And of course, I could not do this amazing show without an excellent and very good friend of mine, co-host of this particular program, the Saltiest Gaming. Welcome, Salty. I'm so glad you're here, brother.
Good afternoon, everybody. I got my Starbucks. It kind of took me a little bit extra time, but we're good to go. Got my caffeine. I'm ready to go here. It's awesome to be back, man. It's been an eventful week for me, per se. I got a little announcement to make, but it's not going to be for a little bit. But yeah, it's been an awesome week.
Well, listen, dude, after last show, I don't think we can ever top what went on. It was an emotional show, to say the least. The fans came out big, and you know what? We have a show for you today that is going to make your lunch hour, where you're eating your ham and cheese sandwich with your bag of Lay's and your Dr. Pepper, go by super quick. So let's get into the first topic. Fallout 76 has its day one patch hit the size of 54.1 gigs, bringing the entire game to well over 100 gigabytes. Now, here's the thing. Before we break that down, I put out a tweet earlier this morning. I have 3 hours into the game. I have, crafted a lot of things. I have found a lot of locations. I'm going to say this. I have been a fan of Fallout since Fallout 3 on the Xbox 360. FYI, not a big surprise here, folks. I have purchased every collector's edition that has ever come out for a Fallout game. That, of course, includes all the way back to the lunchbox that came out with Fallout 3 to, of course, the unboxing I'm going to do on my channel later this afternoon, which, of course, is the Power Armor Edition, which was, if you don't know, $200. So to say that I'm a fan of the franchise would be a bit of an understatement. And I had to say this. If you're a fan, get ready, plug your ears, or, just take my words in vain. This is just a fan's opinion. I wrote a tweet this morning. I got a lot of slack for it. And all I simply said was, considering after coming off of games like Red Dead Redemption 2, God of War, and of course games like Spider-Man and Assassin's Creed Odyssey, this is a huge, tremendous cliff letdown, drop off, however you want to say it. I took a picture, I posted it. The pile of confetti basically looked like a blob of color. And this is like, again, I'm playing on a 4K screen. The game has HDR, and I have to say I was extremely disappointed. Now, I'm not really disappointed in the collector's edition per se, because that helmet is dope. But, you guys will see that later on when I do the video. Salty, you had some serious reservations about this game. It wasn't in your wheelhouse. I don't know if it was. Me personally, I didn't play the beta simply because I wanted to look on this game on fresh eyes. I put a significant amount of time into the Fallout series, well over 500 to 700 hours across all the all the games in the series. I really enjoy it, but man, I was expecting more. Salty, take it away, dude. What are your takeaways from what I'm saying? And are you in agreeing what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. Unfortunately, I'm a huge Fallout fan. Like, honestly, just huge. Fallout 4 was amazing to me, but that's a few years ago, right? It's been a while since I played that. I got my time out of that. And when this game was announced, I was expecting, some good things from it from E3, and I was super excited. I'm not going to say that I'm sitting here and I was hating the whole time, because I wasn't. I was super excited to get into this experience with my friends. It's something that, Fallout fans have wanted for a long time, that multiplayer co-op experience in this Fallout world. But honestly, just everything that I've heard from this game, and I did a video on this, and typically when you make a video that's that salty and that blunt against Bethesda or some kind of company that has a good following, you're going to get a lot of dislikes, right? But if you look at the like to dislike ratio on that video, there's tons of likes, tons of comments. You read the comments, it's not even close. It's not even a close thing. Everybody's saying the same thing. And it's like, you know, they're in agreement to what I was saying. And I think that Bethesda gets a pass in a lot of areas. And it's some of these companies and some of these, you know, developers slash publishers, they just get a pass for whatever reason. And I think this game's getting a pass definitely because it's using an extremely old engine. And then we're nearing the end of this cycle, right? This life cycle for this gen. And we're getting towards Scarlet in PS5. And we're using an engine that was used in the 360 days. Like, that's insane, folks. Like, this is Bethesda. They're making millions and millions of dollars, and they're using that same broke engine that's buggy, that has horrible frame rates, that the animations are poor. It's just, the list goes on and on for me for this game. And I was just seeing the writing on the wall, and I didn't like it because I wanted to get this game. And there's a certain point where I said, okay, enough's enough. I'm not buying this game. I'm just not going to support what Bethesda is doing at this point, because honestly, it hurt me to say that because Bethesda is one of my favorite publishers slash developers. So it was hard for me to say that. Okay. This isn't easy for me, folks. Okay. But the proof's in the pudding. You know, I've heard the frame rate is horrible still. They got the file size is up to 100 gigs, but it's still running horrible. And the bottom line is there's only so much they can do on this old engine. So no matter how much work they put into it, it's still going to perform how it's going to perform. Like, they don't even have a field of view slider on the PC, because their explanation for that is that it would cause screen tearing and some other things. It's like, well, if your engine can't handle simple things like field of view sliders, maybe it's time to upgrade. You know what I'm saying, Boom?
Yeah,
like,
listen, yeah, 100% correct, dude.
So it's just, what it comes down to me is they wanted to push out a games as a service model for a game. They said that they want to support this game for eternity. I don't know what the quote was, but forever, basically. And they want a game that they can update and all this other stuff. Well, it's like, well, if you're going to do that and you want to support this game for years and years and years, start with a clean engine. Do it. Like, why are you using an engine that you made in the 360 days, and then you want to support that into Scarlet and PS5 or whatever it is? It just doesn't make any sense to me. And then what else is contradictive is the story. You come out, you know, you're coming out of the vault. You're trying to build up this the wasteland, right, with your fellow mates, and then you have the ability to nuke people. Like, what? How does this make sense? Like, and then also the PvP experience, which this game is built on, because if you didn't have PvP, it kind of defeats the purpose. You have to accept PvP encounters, right? And the point of some of these survival games is getting the draw on people and all this other stuff. A lot of these things just contradict one another in this game. It's just one big contradiction. There's no real story to this game. The end game is lacking. It's buggy. I could just go on and on. But it is what it is, man.
Well, you know what? I have to add to your fantastic points, and that's what co-hosts do. We bounce off one each other, even though sometimes we will eventually disagree on something. I may say something, and so big. Listen, boom, I hear what you're saying, but I don't agree. And you know what? That's what makes this show a talk show. But I have to agree with you because I have put 3 hours into the game, and I'm gonna say that it is a buggy mess. You know, this is coming off of a day one patch that was almost well over 54 gigs, like I said in the opening. It has jaggies. It has jump stutter animation. It has people getting stuck in doorways. It has me getting stuck in a corner where I had to try and, you know, shake the controller to get out of it. The environment is sloppy. I understand it's a wasteland. I totally get that. But you have to also take into account that you play a game like, and I hate to keep bringing this up, but this is gonna be the standard going forward. Red Dead Redemption 2. When you're out in the wild, in the open, where there's nothing but you, your horse, and a blowing tumbleweed, the world world is vibrant. The world is alive. It's colorful. I can make out what a freaking tree looks like, whereas I cannot make out what even some of the ghoul characters look like. I just see a blob on the screen with a gun, with some hair, which I think it's hair. It could be Jaggies. I don't know. And the hit detection is freaking horrendous. Even when you go into slow-mo mode, when you hit the right B button to bring up the VATS, it's weird. It's not like the VATS back in the days where the time slows down and you pick a spot. The world is still moving, and it's just the creature turns green. I'm going to say this, okay? I'm not giving it an official review on my unboxing because that's not what the point of the unboxing is. I am going to say on this particular show that if I had to throw out a quick review, if I had to, if you put your VATS on me and it was either give a review, boom, you're losing the right arm, I'm giving it a 5.0 out of 10. Okay.
Right, real quick. This game reminds me, it's like a cross between State of Decay 2 when it came out, like buggy, a lot, pretty buggy. Yes. And then Sea of Thieves. Like this feels like a Sea of Thieves 2.0 almost. Like if you look at it, it's a big, massive open world, but it feels kind of void of life, kind of lifeless. The end game doesn't seem like it's there. It just seems like you need to make your fun with your friends. I was going to do a video on it and compare the two, which I still might do, because it's a games as a service. And they plan to add content and stuff like that. I predicted this game was going to get like a 6 in the 60s, low 60s with review score, and we shall see. Still, I think the thing that's kind of the saving grace for this, imagine if this game was a game that Microsoft produced, and they're dropping this today or tomorrow in Game Pass, right? What kind of blowback would they receive if it wasn't for Bethesda? I think Bethesda is kind of that shielding wall per se for a lot of this negativity. If this was Microsoft, this thing would be just
dead in the water.
Dead in the water, dude.
Yes,
sorry.
100%, dude. Absolutely 100%. There's no doubt. And we talked about this pre-game. And we're not going to spend too much longer because we're already 15 minutes into the show, or 12 really. And I don't want to keep beating the horse, but the game is bad. And they are one of the, again, I don't care what company you are. Bethesda is one of the few, including Nintendo. There's not that many that get like that bus pass that you can take from here to Las Vegas and back, and it works on everything, right? They get the pass. I don't think, as a fan, we should accept it. Like I said, I'm at the core of the problem. I still have the $200 edition sitting next to me, which I have all my entire studio set up to do the unboxing. I'm not going to get a refund. I'm not. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wait for a sale and try and sell the actual disc copy back to GameStop. Maybe I can get $40 off a game coming out, whatever. So I'm gonna hold on to that. But I want to continue on. Segue into Bethesda, and in a story that I pulled, and I've never heard of this website, but I suggest giving them a look at because they actually had some really good writers. It's called Tweaktown, and the story that they wrote happened to deal with Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6, which could be using the same engine as Fallout 76. Now, I'm going to say this. According to the article, Bethesda all but confirms it in the next-gen games will use the creation engine, one of the biggest problems that, in my opinion, is plaguing Fallout 76. And I'm going to continue with the article. According to what they're saying, Bethesda has a problem on its hands with its newly released Fallout 76 beta, seeing a hard locked at 63 frames per second on the PC because of an aging creation engine that the developer built in game. Now, I'm going to stop reading the article there because now I have to talk. Starfield is supposed to be a big deal for Bethesda in terms of it's going to be a sci-fi Fallout, basically. And I'm excited for that. I'm a Star Wars nerd. I like the idea of having a Fallout type game, in outer space with, future weapons and things. I'm excited for that. I'm obviously a huge Elder Scrolls fan. Bought all their collector's editions as well. Looking forward to Elder Scrolls 6. But I am going to tell you this right now. If I, as a gamer, get wind that either of these two games are going to be using the same creation engine, you can count me the F out as a fan moving forward. End of story. Salty, please take it away, my friend.
Man, talk about buzzkill, dude. Honestly, like this is insane. We're talking about next gen situations here. Starfield. I heard I got wind of that game, and I was out of my mind because I love Star Wars and all kinds of science fiction. You know, that genre just, I don't know, it touches me in the feels, right? So I just I was super excited for the possibilities, man. But Bethesda, you're breaking my heart. Like on Star Wars, it's like Padme coming and, you know, talking to Anakin. God, you're breaking my heart. You're going somewhere I can't follow. I can't play on this broken engine. The passes that we're giving you, man, we're not going to give you passes anymore because I feel like it's leading to this cash grab situation. It's like if Microsoft determined that they needed to go back to the drawing board with Halo Infinite, delay their main franchise, their billion-dollar franchise, their cash cow, basically, you could call it. If they felt like they needed a new engine, where are you at? Like, honestly, like this is the biggest mistake that could possibly be made. They're not Call of Duty. They're not, you know, someone that can tweak their engine and get away with it. Like, it's starting to show, man. There's rips at the seams. Do not do this, Bethesda. Do not continue to do this. We're seeing this with Fallout 76, the blowback here. Your engine is dated. It's buggy. It's not up to standards, even in this generation. And then we're talking about the next, you know, Elder Scrolls and then Starfield. No, just don't do it. Say no to this, everybody. We cannot accept this going forward because it's just an excuse for them to be lazy and not spend money and delay their games to, you know, make a new engine. Like, they could very easily do this, but they want to push these games out, right? It takes time to develop an engine. It's just unacceptable to me. I don't know.
You are 100% right, and that is, you know, it's something to talk about. But I want to read some more of the article. It's according to Tweaktown. It says the news broke on Reddit from an interview between Todd Howard from Bethesda, which he's one of my favorite industry like developers. Like, he is so outspoken and passionate. Yep. I really am a huge fan of Todd Howard. He was being interviewed by GameStar all the way back in June, and this is obviously during E3.
Boom.
But yes, sir.
You gotta pay the bills, bro.
Oh my goodness. Okay, Al Hogan, dude. First of all, I gotta tell you, $25 super chat. That is a big deal for me personally. Thank you very much. He says, "Love your show, Boom. I'm a beat cop and I listen to you between calls. That's awesome. Dope, dude. That is pretty cool. Love you, my gaming brother in blue. Keep the content coming, dude. That is, you know what? Even more so than the $25 super chat, the fact that you are a brother in arms with me, you know, because obviously I'm a retired New York City police officer. That is awesome of you to share. Thank you so much. Be safe. Watch your six while you're out there. And like I said, continue enjoying the content. Thank you so much. But I want to just continue real quick. In that interview with GameStar that was in June of this year, Todd Howard told us, basically said that for Fallout 76, we have changed a lot. I don't see it. The game uses a new renderer, a new lighting system, and a new system for landscape generation. Okay. He continues with, for Starfield, even more of it is going to change. And for the Elder Scrolls 6 out there on the horizon, even more. Now, you know, here's the thing, folks. Okay. As much as I respect the dude, as much as he is one of my favorite developers that come out and speak to the fans, I have to say that I'm having very serious doubts on how good Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6 are going to be if they use anything of this engine, because I am telling you, I only put 3 hours in, but I'm sure that's 3 hours more than most. Okay, I was here at 6 o'clock this morning, putting in the time. I played up until right before we went live, and I am extremely disappointed with how poor, choppy, and buggy this game is. You know what? I don't know if it was a mistake or a blunder on my part not playing the beta, because to be completely honest, as much as I'm really stoked to do the unboxing of the Power Armor helmet, that's still $218 after tax. I could have just bought 3 other games. So I don't know, Salty. I mean, what are your takeaways with the fact that if they kind of dig their heels in the sand and say, you know what, we're not changing it, does that make you not a fan anymore?
I mean, at this point, I'd have to say yes. Like, if we're going to continue to get the same product, it's hard to get excited for it per se, So, I'm going to have to see what these games look like when they come out, obviously. But if it's the same thing and status quo from, Fallout 76, and then the new Elder Scrolls comes out and it looks like ESO Online and ESO and all this other stuff, I'm not going to be buying these games. I'm sorry. Because does power matter? Does graphics matter? Yes, they do.
Yes.
I mean, why can't we have both? We have games that are fun to play and that look good. Not every game needs to be a graphical powerhouse. I'm not going to say that. But at the same time, like, this game is built in a way where it could do well with better looking graphics and better animations and stuff. I don't need it to look like photorealism. If that's not what they're going for, that's fine. But just make an updated engine. That's all I'm asking for, man. That's it.
I don't think that as a consumer, that's a big that's you're asking for too much. But real quick, Midway Monster with the $10 super chat. Open betas are a mistake, especially when bugs are so prevalent. Popularity makes devs content and stunts growth. Halo is reinventing the franchise with its new engine. Creates excitement. Yeah, you know what, dude? A good point, dude. And he's 100% right. If we again, I don't want to sound like I'm complaining. This is coming from 2 fans. Understand that, folks. Salty and I are fans of the Fallout series, and I think there are a lot of people in the chat that are. But if you don't stand up and say something and let them know that this is unacceptable in 2018, then they're just going to keep putting out the same shit. I'm sorry. It's that's just the bottom line. I don't know. Look, again, we've beat this horse to death. I want to move on to the next topic. And this is interesting. Again, I hate to keep bringing the salt, because this is going to make some PlayStation fans a little salty. And you know what? This is a news program, so we're going to talk about the news. This story just broke. According to Eurogamer, who had hands-on time with Sony's answer to the NES and Super NES Classic in the form of the PlayStation Classic, it's not good, folks. They're saying that it's bad, and this is according to the story. I'm going to read an excerpt from it. It says there's nothing by a way of a rewind feature or anything much beyond bare bones emulation. Perhaps we've been spoiled in recent years by the work of companies like Digital Eclipse, who do retro stuff like that. But the lack of options presented in the PlayStation Classic is a huge disappointment. This is coming directly from Eurogamer, look. Some problems are more specific with the PlayStation Classic, according to the article, though again, the ones that you can necessarily blame is Sony. The selection has been at the forefront of issues. And Salty, before I get your take on it, I just want to give the fans the idea of what 20 games you're getting for $100. And I don't think it's worth it. I think that it has a few bangers, like you like to say, Salty. Yeah. But man, these are not PlayStation defining games. It should have been stacked, and it's not. You have Battle Arena Toshinden, which actually was a launch title, good game. Cool Borders 2, could care less. Destruction Derby, good, but it looks horrendous. Final Fantasy VII. I think everyone owns 9 copies of that already. Grand Theft Auto, the original, okay? Intelligent Cube, which I don't know why. Jumping Flash is like blobs on the screen. Metal Gear Solid, that's a big one. Mr. Driller, take it or leave it. Oddworld, Abe's Odyssey, okay, I like that one. Rayman, I like that one. Resident Evil Director's Cut, you know how I feel about Resident Evil. Revelations, Persona, I didn't play it. Ridge Racer Type 4 was excellent. Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo is good. Siphon Filter probably runs and looks horrendous. Tekken 3 probably still looks terrible, but probably plays decent. Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six, I don't get that one. Twisted Metal, I do get. And Wild Arms, when do you really need Wild Arms when you have Final Fantasy VII? The answer is no. So here's the thing, Salty. Eurogamer had some really negative things to say about this. But, you know, I think really how you have to look at this particular product is coming off of Nintendo's NES and SNES minis. They came out, they stunned the world. They were perfect, and they were better than perfect because the games ran and looked better than you remember them. Whereas now, this to me is an absolute 1,000% cash grab by Sony to once again rape their fans of the money. Yep. I am sorry if you're a Sony fan and this interests you. Okay, dude, I hear you. You know what I'm saying? If you want to get it, that's cool. But for $100 for 20 games and half of them are complete garbage, I have to ask, why would you? And on top of that, they're barely running at 720p. So I don't know, Salty. Am I making too much a big deal over this, or is this something that you agree with?
No, you're not. It was a perfect segue from Fallout 76 to this because they're both cash grabs, in my opinion. I mean, yes. It is what it is. Hashtag cash grab, you know. I think a lot of times, I think some of these executives and some of these businesses, man, they see their player base or fans as like, I don't know, just willing to snatch up anything. Like they could throw something out there in the wild and they're like, we don't have to put time and effort into this, or we don't have to put the titles that they really want. They're going to buy it anyway. You know, like what's the point? Like, what's the point of throwing a power cord in there when they could buy it? You know what I'm saying? Like we'll make more money. It's crazy. I just wish I could be a fly on the wall of some of these meetings, you know, some of these pitch meetings. Oh man, you know, Nintendo, they're coming out with these products. They're making tons of money. Let's do it. Let's do the same thing. Hey, should we try to go get licenses for some of the music and bring some of the games that they really want? Nah, let's not do that. That costs money. Let's throw you know, this game and that game that nobody cares about, like Final Fantasy VII. Like that's cool, but like they're putting out these collections that people can play that are an updated, you know, resolution and all this other stuff. So it's just at this point, this is a no-brainer for me. This is a cash grab. I mean, if you guys are really that nostalgic and you want to go in there and play these games, there's a little thing called emulators out there. You could take a look at that. I'm not, you know, saying you should do that or not, but I think that at this point, you've seen this, the proof's in the pudding. You should stand up to this kind of stuff and be against it and ask for better. Honestly, you know, we got free per se backwards compatibility when it comes to the Xbox. And I see a lot of people in the chat, well, why can't I just have it on my PlayStation 4? All these are good questions, and I don't know. It's just it's a no buy for me. It's a no go for me. It's a cash grab.
Yeah, you know, the problem is this, Salty and chat. You know, if they would have taken the time to really put an effort into this, you know, given a rewind feature, you know, a save anywhere feature, you know, put, you know, a significant amount of, you know, like 20 games. I don't think it's really hard to sit back in your chair if you're a fan of gaming, or if you're a huge fan of PlayStation, go back to the PS1 days and come up with 20 games. You know, what they could have done, and I think that this would have been a great idea, is do some sort of a contest. Say, hey, listen, here are the first 15 games, but we want to hear from you. Get the community involved. Get your rabid fan base involved, and say what 5 games that are not on this list that you want to get, see on this piece of plastic. And they could have did this months in advance. And if they didn't, obviously they would have picked the 5 games that they could have gotten the licenses. Or listen, it's money. You need a license of a game. Pay the developer. Say, here's X, here's $X. Because the bottom line, if you put a 20 games that are of quality, this would have was flying off the shelf. Now, again, I'm not saying it's not going to sell. It's coming out December 3rd. Super smart. Once again, Sony's marketing completely knocking it out of the park. It's going to be a stocking stuffer. For some parents, spending $100 isn't such a bad deal because it is a classic PlayStation. Parents who are probably around my age, maybe a little bit younger, are going to remember when they played on the PlayStation 1 and how impressive this was. So they may want to get it for their kids. So it is a great, great idea. But man, I just, when you start seeing again, if Boom did a review, you could say, well, Boom has 1,800 followers, and I don't really trust him, whatever, and he's more of an Xbox guy. So I'm not going to go based on what I hear you. I absolutely hear you, and I wouldn't trust me either. I'm going to be honest with you. Okay, if you didn't trust my opinion on the PlayStation Classic, the review I was getting, no problem, right? There's hundreds of other YouTubers you can check out. But when the big sites like Eurogamer, now I'm not the biggest fan of them, but this is a story, it's late breaking, and we're going to talk about it. When the big guys start talking about it, giving it the old raspberry, you have to wonder, because remember, they're very pro Sony, for this. So for them to be like, well, you might want to kind of just check out a review first before you buy it. You got to ask yourself, is it really that bad? Salty, what do you think on that, dude?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It just comes down to people voicing their opinions on these things, like people have to make noise to be able to have the companies actually want to do something. And it's interesting. I saw in the chat, Creep Freak was talking about, Crash Bandicoot would have been a good game to throw in there. Like, what kind of makes me think about a lot of these things is at this point, with these games being so old, a lot of them are being remade or remastered.
Right.
So at this point, like when you get a remake, like Crash Bandicoot has its own, trilogy you can buy at this point, and then, the list goes on. So at a certain point, you're getting the updated versions already that you can get better graphics and resolution and all this other stuff. And then you got these classics coming out, and you get the old version of it. It's kind of a no-brainer to me. If I want to go back and play these games and there's an updated version, I'm going to buy that over something that looks like crap on my TV, So
yeah, absolutely. And great points. Dreadpool says in the chat, again, Sony is charging for a free emulator. I can't wrap my head around their thinking. He's right. That's a simply put great point, dude. But you know what? I'm going to segue into some positive Sony news, because you know what? People can say that Boom is shitting on them, but you know what? I talk on both sides of the coin, good and bad. And according to a story that I pulled from kitguru.net, Sony's PlayStation 4 surpasses lifetime sales of the PlayStation 3. And this is a big accomplishment for Sony, who's been in the video game business since the PS1, which launched in 1995, if you didn't know. This is a major landmark just 5 years after Sony launched the PS4, with the original PlayStation setting the next target at possibly now think about this for a second, folks. The original PlayStation, the PS1, one we were just talking about, not the mini, sold 102.5 million consoles. That is bananas. But what's even more bananas is the fact that Sony is probably at this point closing in at 90 million consoles sold in 5 years. I mean, that is an accomplishment that, of course, and we talk about this all the time, Salty, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but marketing, they just know how to do it. and I'm a big fan of it, and that's why they are winning. But you know what? We have to take into account the major exclusives such as God of War, Insomniac's Spider-Man, and Detroit Become Human. Just in 2018, have been a huge push for this, for people wanting to buy the console. And we still have The Last of Us Part 2, Death Stranding, and Ghost of Tsushima still on the horizon. So, I mean, this is a big accomplishment. Black Friday is next week. Sony is going to be dropping A-bombs left and right to get that console, selling like they did last Black Friday, where they broke records. I'm expecting the same thing. Salty, what are your takeaways with the possibility of the PlayStation 4 actually outpacing the original PS1?
Man, it's a great accomplishment. Honestly, that 100 million mark is kind of the precipice for just this insane console sales. And we look at, how many gamers are out there in this day and age. It's impressive, man. I mean, this console speaks to casuals and hardcore alike. Yep. And I think that the biggest takeaway that we can take away from the amount of console sales that happen this generation is the fact that when you focus on games, people will buy your system. Like, mark my words, I think 2013, they got kind of lucky as well, because Xbox had the momentum, and they screwed the pooch, per se. Yep. You know what I'm saying? They did everything they could that was wrong, the Kinect, the price point, everything else, right? So then Sony capitalized on that. They were pretty desperate at that time. If you guys remember, the company was in risk of actually folding because the profit margins just weren't there. So they needed PlayStation to do well, and it has done well for them. And I say props to that. The other takeaway that we have is the fact that single player games are relevant. They couldn't be more relevant. Look at, Red Dead Redemption 2, the sales for that, shattering entertainment records, not just gaming records. So, and then God of War, Spider-Man, just insane sales numbers. So the single player genre is important to gamers. It's not going anywhere. And I think that, Microsoft knows this, and that's why they're putting emphasis on getting, developers that specialize in RPGs and this and that. So I think the industry is taking notice. If you look at the gaming awards, list, Sony has like 18 or some crazy amount of nominations, and then the second person on that list or company on that list is like way below them. So they've been hitting it out of the park. So it's not surprising to me that they're hitting these kind of numbers. Honestly, this console is one of those consoles that you look back and you're just like, oh, the PlayStation 1 and this and that, and the PlayStation 4. It's just on that list of just quality gaming hardware. So it's props to them, man.
Yeah, well, you know what, you hit on a point that was really important. When you talk about the casual gamer, it's not an insult, because life is what it is. Life. People have families, jobs. Some people have 2 jobs. People grow out of gaming. Some people come back to gaming. But you know what? People are going to flock to what people are talking about. And what do I mean by that, Salty? Well, you know what? When you put advertising at the forefront of your division of hardware, like Sony has done, their commercials are freaking awesome, man. I mean, the new one that they have out where the guy is kind of running around the battlefield, and the game, it keeps changing to different games. I see that everywhere, and it's dope. I think it's fantastic. And the average gamer, the casual gamer who doesn't buy 9, 12, 15, 72 games a year like a Boom or Salty or a Mooch or a Crap, that buy 4 games a year. They buy NBA, 2K, whatever. They buy the latest Call of Duty. They get the Grand Theft Auto, or they get the Red Dead Redemption, and possibly, you throw a Madden in there, you throw an NBA Live. So they're buying their 4 games a year, and that's it. Those are the large number of consoles sold for the PlayStation, taking nothing away from them. You know, I mean, it's shame on Xbox for not being, you know, everyone's face. If they were in everyone's face, this might be a different generation. And they weren't. So, you know what? They're learning their lessons, obviously. But you know what? I want to move on to the next topic. But before I do that, I have to say a big thank you and a shout out to Aiden Williams with the $20 super chat. Dude, thank you very much. He says, "What's up, brothers? Love the show. Keep up the awesome work." Yes, thank you, dude. We look forward to doing this each and every week. Not for us, for you guys. And the super chats, let me tell you something. Both of us are really floored by the generosity that the community has shown both me and Salty. So thank you very much for that. Now we're going to talk about the next game we're talking about is my game of the year. Sorry for the spoiler, folks, but Assassin's Creed Odyssey has basically blown it out of the water. It's so good that it made me stop playing Red Dead Redemption 2 in Chapter 4 because I just needed something more fast-paced, and I'm back to playing that. And this is really interesting news. Ubisoft details some new Assassin's Creed Odyssey features and new visual customizations coming soon. And what's crazy is it already looks gorgeous. I can't imagine what else they're going to do to improve it, to be completely honest. But there's a lot of free content coming to the game this month. And recently, Ubisoft detailed it all. The major additions in November have been the Lost Tales of Greece episodes, Epic Events, which is live right now, where you're searching and trying to find an epic, Cyclops, which is a fantastic mission, and new visual customizations. And I'm just gonna, it's a long list, but I just kind of want to give the fans an idea of what you're getting. First, the free Lost Tales of Greece DLC allows you to discover more about various characters within the game. And I think that's great because they have some really interesting NPCs that really kind of move the story along. Free epic events are either ship battles or mercenaries that appear on the map. And of course, if you defeat them, you're going to obviously get rare currency in the form of weapons and armor, which I've gotten. There are new cosmetic items coming to the game soon, like ship designs and armor. A mythical Cyclops, which I just talked about, will arrive in Assassin's Creed Odyssey on November 13th, which it's live yesterday. And again, he's huge. He's like Godzilla size. So you're gonna be fighting him. And I don't know what the epic rewards are going to be for him, but I'm sure it's going to be big. And we just talked about it. The visual customization is coming, where you can make your own armor sets. Which I think is amazing because some of them, some armors have great stats, but you hate the way they look. I like that they're addressing that. Salty, let me ask you this. Obviously, Assassin's Creed Odyssey sold the best in the series. That's confirmed by Ubisoft. The numbers are out there. You're an analytics guy. You always talk about numbers. Yeah. But what does this mean to you that not only is this sold like gangbusters, not only is it showing up in Game of the Year conversations like mine, but that they're not resting on their laurels and they're still coming out with content, and most of it is free?
All right, so here's the deal. I first of all, I need to admit that I was completely wrong on this game. Okay, I shit on it and I said that it was just it's too similar to Origins and all this other stuff. I couldn't be anywhere more wrong than I was, so I'll get that out there. Second of all, this game, from what I'm hearing, man, it gets me so hyped to be able to play it, and it just speaks volumes to the quality of games this year, man. I don't know. I think we're going to look back to 2018 in a couple years and be like, damn, do you remember 2018 God of War, Spider-Man? AC, Odyssey, Red Dead 2, like, guys, it's crazy, man. But I just like that obviously this is the way that you keep your game alive. And with the single player game, they started to do it with Origins. They had some events that they had going on with that game. And I like the way that they're approaching it because it's a way to keep your game active and lively, raising your level caps, adding events in there for your players to be excited because With single player games, they get this kind of one-off mantra. People are like, oh, this is one and done, right? You play these, you play them, you get done with them, and then you sell them back to GameStop. They're trying to avoid that with these single player games. If you guys haven't noticed, they're trying to keep you guys interested in the game past the main storyline. And this is a perfect example of that. Raise the level cap, give you stuff to do in the world, add events. It's a perfect way to go about this. And honestly, they need to keep doing this for about a year or so, because they said they're going to take a year off. I don't know if they're going to stay to that, but which I think they will.
Yes.
You need to support this game. The game will pick up sales, I think, because people like me are going to buy this game. So continue to have this publicity from word to mouth, right? People buy it. People are going to buy it down the line. You support it. They play this. They continue to play it until the next game comes out. That'd be the ideal situation, in my opinion. So,
well, look, I'm going to say this, Salty. First of all, good on you, and a big round of applause for admitting that you were wrong on something. That's what being a man is all about. All right, you explain that for everyone that's listening now or will listen later. I'm like that also. If I'm wrong about a game and I'm publicly, nah, it sucks, and I play it, I'm like, well, this is really good. I will come out and do the same thing, say, nope, I was wrong. It was really good. But you know what? What's amazing about this game is I've beaten it. I've beaten the main story. It had a fantastic ending. Now I am hunting these cultist members down. When you start the game, I think there's like 30 or 40 of them. It is it takes up the entire screen how many of these people there are. I am down to I've killed them all but 8. And I'm going to continue on trying to find them all. I want to wipe them off the map. The new, these mythical beasts. If you don't know, and I'm not going to spoil it for anyone, there's a mission you could miss that has you fighting 3 mythical beasts in total. Probably the best boss battles I've played in the last 10 years. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. Now they're going to be popping up on the map with different creatures to fight. I absolutely love that. But you know what, Salty, if you have nothing else to say about Assassin's Creed, I want to segue into still keeping with Ubisoft, if that's cool.
Yeah.
We got some really awesome Tom Clancy's The Division 2 news, and it's worth talking about for 2 reasons. One, I'm the freaking host here, so I'm going to talk about it because I happen to love The Division. But more importantly, this is cool. And it goes exactly what you were just talking about how to keep the game alive, to keep giving back to the fans. Tom Clancy's The Division 2 will receive 3 DLCs in the form of episodes in year 1. And guess what, folks? Every piece of content, every upgrade, every weapon set, every gear set, all free for all players. And considering that companies like Activision and EA have DLC gouged the players this generation, this is extremely refreshing to see. But this is not the first time Ubisoft and The Division have offered up free DLC. If you remember, the last big update for The Division 1 opened up the entire West Side Pier. And I can tell you, someone that walked the beat in Manhattan for a little bit, who's been down there for details, it was spot on good, really represented New York very well. But you know what, Salty, I want to get your opinion on this. Again, keeping with Ubisoft, they understand that the old model, the Destiny model, the Call of Duty model, that old, way of thinking is the way that no one wants to be anymore. They want to give stuff free. Sure, they want to, offer up DLC, to change your outfit and do microtransactions. You don't have to do that, but they're still giving you the free content. How important is that for The Division 2?
I think it's extremely important. I think this is going to separate this game from its main competitor, Destiny.
Yes.
Destiny loves to just charge and charge and charge and charge. They have these DLCs. And one of the things that really annoyed me, I think this is probably the straw that broke the camel's back for Destiny for me, because I bought those expansions because I was forced to, the bad ones. What was it? I can't even remember. The two that were like $20 each.
They're terrible.
They made you buy those to be able to buy the newest one that just came out. And it just screamed like, hey, you know, we're going to force you to buy this crap that we came out with because it didn't do well. And then Activision, you know, the stockholders are saying, oh, I mean, Destiny 2 isn't hitting our standards when it comes to, you know,
Yep.
profit margins. So, you know, that just screams, hey, we're gonna gouge you with microtransactions. So you have the Division 2, they have the chance to say, hey, we could fix all the bad stuff about Division 1. Obviously, they've done that. Like, they've learned from their experience. It was a new game. It had some of its, you know, miscomings and faults and stuff like that. Division 2 is going to hit the ground running, and it's going to have all the good stuff that they fixed from, you know, Division 1, and that's going to be day one in Division 2. Now that they're going to have these, you know, free DLCs, that's outstanding, man. I mean, they have a chance to rip away a lot of the player base from Destiny because they have PvP and they have PvE. That's the thing that Anthem isn't going to have. Anthem is still by far my most anticipated game for 2019, and unfortunately, it's coming out extremely close to Division 2. And I like to focus on my games. I don't like to buy games and just have them sit there. So I'll be playing Anthem and focusing on that because it's a looter game. It's an open world game, and it's too close to Division 2, unfortunately. So I'm gonna have to wait on the Division 2 until I can focus on it because I like to give my attention to a game. Especially an open world game like that. But this is outstanding news for Division fans and gamers because, you know, it is what it is.
No, absolutely. You're absolutely correct. I mean, think about it. You know, unfortunately, you know, depending on who you talk to, Division 1 lost a lot of people after the first couple of weeks because once you hit the 30, for me, I kept playing because maybe it was, you know, my prior career. Maybe it was being New York. Maybe I was a little biased there. I'm running around New York and Times Square, and I'm like, wow, I remember standing on a detail over here, and everything was just so well drawn out. Like they really told a good story that maybe I was a little biased with that. But I really enjoyed my time with the Division. In fact, I was actually just playing the other night with oh my god, who am I? The Glitcher. He asked me for some help, and I started playing the Division again. And guess what, folks? I enjoyed it just as much as I did the first time I put it in. But I am going to say this: I am really, really looking forward to the Division 2. In fact, I have the Dark Zone Collector's Edition, which big surprise, pre-ordered, which comes with the Dark Zone agent firing the flare. And if you know what, if you've been in the Dark Zone, you know what I mean. That is dope. I could not pass that up. But you know what? I'm looking forward to seeing what Massive Entertainment and Ubisoft do. But you know what? Let's talk about the THQ. Now, if you're not familiar, they made a lot of games and they went bankrupt. And in a story that I just pulled, THQ, and this story I pulled from Game Rant. I like getting it out there. Who I pull the stories from. THQ Nordic apparently, and this is hard to believe, but this is a story, so I'm going to go with it. It broke today. 23 games in development, and if Darksiders 3, which I think is going to be incredible, is any indication of the quality of these titles that are going to be coming out, small, big, or whatever, I'm super excited. And I'm also going to talk about this for a second. If you're not familiar, they just bought the rights to Kingdoms of Amalur, and I'm going to tell you this right now. Not only is that my favorite, and I mean my favorite of all time action RPGs, it is one of the gems of the 360 era that so many people missed. I'm praying to the gaming gods that they release this as either backwards compatible or please charge me $40 and I'll rebuy it. Give me all the achievements to get again, and I will be in absolute heaven. Nordic Game announced plans to rebrand itself as THQ Nordic, reviving the THQ name and moving forward with development of their new titles in this newly reformed, should I say, developer. And they've made games like Destroy All Humans, which was hilarious. The Darksiders 4 is from what I hear, is in development. If 3 does well, Kingdoms of Amalur we just talked about. If, like I said, hopefully they revive that series and they bring that back. And Red Faction, which just had HD versions, which I'm going to probably try and pick up during the end of year sale. Salty, let's break this down. First of all, it's fantastic that all of these old titles could possibly come back in either now or the next generation, because they're all going to look and run great. What are your takeaways with THQ coming back in a big way?
I think it's outstanding for the gaming industry. Honestly, they were struggling for a while there, but with this new Darksiders game and some other, they're purchasing studios. I think they're just trying to make a push. Honestly, try to be one of those developers that are in the forefront of gamers' minds, and I think it's good for the gaming industry. Honestly, Darksiders is kind of on my list there. I love that kind of game, the hack and slash feel of it, and I think it's going to do well. I'm not sure if it's going to break records or anything like that, but I don't think it needs to. I think that as long as the game is successful, they'll make another one, and they're pushing it to other territories and regions when it comes to their games. 23 games, is that what you said? That's a lot, man. I think that's a good amount of games for them to be producing, and if you're a THQ fan, I think you're happy right now,
Oh yeah, well, I am the biggest, largest fan of Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning. Obviously that game came out, a lot of controversy behind it, but it just played so well. Magic and slashing and hacking and slashing was just so perfectly done. It is one of my favorite games of all time, certainly in the top 5 of the Xbox 360. It's probably hovering at number 3 for me personally. I absolutely love that game. I'm really excited to see THQ come back. I'm very excited to see that, even though a game does not need to have $100 million budget to be a good game. Right, Salty? Am I wrong by saying that? It doesn't have to, you know what I'm saying?
Correct.
It's so these are smaller titles. Okay, great. They're third party, but guess what? They're fun. And I think at the end of the day, that's what's important. But we're closing in on the 60-minute mark, but I can't finish the show without talking about the God of War Game Awards announcement that popped up yesterday. And if you don't know what the Gaming Awards are, it's literally the only place where video games are recognized publicly, where they get actual awards. Jeff Keighley runs this. It's something that was a passion project of his. I used to be a huge fan of his. I really did. I thought that his speech to Kojima was heartfelt, and it was important to the industry when Kojima could not attend, and he had to, he was one of the few people that stood up publicly and gave the finger to Konami, which I thought was a tremendous move on his part. But then last year during E3, he did something real dicky, and he leaked the Xbox One X, price right before Xbox is supposed to take the stage. And I thought that was like a real dick move. So to be honest with you, I have not been a fan. But at the same time, this is the only place where we are going to actually get gaming awards. And as it stands right now, and again, folks, this should not come off as a big surprise, God of War and Red Dead Redemption 2 are tied for the most awards and nominations. And you know what? 2 games that absolutely deserve the accolades. And Soldi, I want to talk about that before we close out the show, because last year there were over 18 million viewers, and that's a lot of people watching these things. So it has a following. Again, sometimes it could be very tongue-in-cheek, especially with the commercials. Like, they're really kind of shoehorned in there. And I understand it's a business, so everybody wants to get on board, and you got to see the shit guy running around, and sometimes it's too cheesy to the point where I'm embarrassed to be watching it. Yeah. But at the same time, we do occasionally get some big announcements there. I'm going to give you a loaded question, Salty. So take this in. First and foremost, are you excited for the Game Awards 2018? That's question number 1. Number 2, do you think that we might get some big Xbox, PlayStation 4, or Nintendo announcements, like game trailers that we might have been expecting from like a PSX or an XO18 or a Nintendo Direct. I'll leave it at those two questions. What do you think?
All right. First of all, I need to get this out of the way. Jeff Keighley is a tool and a
Yes.
shield. I lost respect for him. He couldn't be more of a shield to PlayStation, honestly. And what the unfortunate thing for this is when you're running a show like this, you need to be not biased. I'm sorry. I mean, you can't be a shield to one company or another and expect people to give you respect and go to your Game Awards show and give it, the utmost respect when you don't treat it that way. It's just kind of back-asswards to me. I still think that this show has a lot of room to improve, to get up there with some of the, the movie industries and the TV industries with respect. I think that it needs to be structured a little bit differently because I was looking at the list and I understand these games are good. Don't get me wrong, but it just seemed like the same 5 games were in every category. You know what I'm saying? Like when you see that, it's just kind of, it's, you want to see other games get in there, maybe some indie games or maybe make some different categories so it could kind of change it up. Like if you have the same game winning every single category, it's going to be kind of a boring show there. So like in the movie industry, when you have these awards, you don't have this, you have, certain movies winning a lot of awards, but it's not like the same 5 movies are in every category, right? There's different movies there. So anyway, that's the negatives there, but I'm super excited for the show. Honestly, I'm passionate about gaming. Obviously that's why we do our YouTube channels. And this is like a time to bring everybody together. It's like the award show. It's you get these new trailers, it's excitement. We had that guy, was it the French guy?
Yes, last year, dude. He was awesome.
So hopefully he's back.
F the Academy Awards guy.
F the Oscars or whatever.
Yes.
So yeah, hopefully he comes back and does something crazy. But I think more and more as gaming goes higher and higher in the mindset of people when it comes to the entertainment industry, I think that this type of a show is going to get more and more play.
Yeah, I agree. I right, but I kind of just want to break.
I think that's just.
Good, Walty. I'm sorry.
I think it's just going to keep going up and up, man. Yeah, I think we're going to get some announcements for games, but I don't know if it will be anything huge per se, if that makes sense. So we'll see. We'll see.
Well, I mean, you know what? Regardless of how we feel about Jeff Keighley, and we both have a negative, outlook on him personally because he is a bit of a tool. I will publicly admit that. He comes off very disingenuous, if you will, when he's talking. He just seems like he's got something in his back pocket. He's going to try and slip into yours when he's talking to you, and I really don't like that. But just to give the viewers the heads up, platforms that will air the Game Awards, because that's always a big problem, trying to figure out where you're going to watch it. It's going live on December 6th. And that you're going to be able to watch it on YouTube in 4K UHD resolution, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, Mixer, Steam TV, PlayStation 4, and Xbox Live. And in regards to internationally, there are going to be a few live places in China, and China, of all places, are going to be, posting this. So I'm honestly, I'm looking forward to it, not because I want to see Jeff Keighley and his fakeness. I just like what you actually said, a really good point. This is supposed to be an event where it celebrates gaming. It celebrates the gamers who support this industry. And regardless of what, flag you fly, you can come to this show and you can enjoy yourself. I just hope we have some first looks as something that we didn't see this year, because I'm tired of seeing trailers for games that we've seen already. Like how many times are we going to see Kingdom Hearts? How many times are we going to see Battlefield or whatever? If you're going to have something this big, you have to have some surprises. I mean, you're not going to get Phil Spencer to walk out on stage and announce they just bought THQ. I get that, but it would be nice to get out there and get some new information that none of us knew were coming, so we can walk away. And guess what? New information there makes these shows even more interesting because we have something to talk about, right, Salty?
That's right, man. That's right.
But you know what? We have surpassed the 60-minute part, mark of the show, and right now we're keeping it to 60 minutes. Salty and I have discussed privately that if the show continues to garner, the viewage, we
Yep.
may consider extending it, a little bit, maybe an additional, 30 minutes. But that's something when we decide on that, we will let the public know, of course, in a tweet or live on the air. But I have to thank the chat once again. I was reading the chat. First of all, the chat was so many people were in the chat. It was going so fast that if I missed you, I apologize. I tried to answer all questions to me, and I also like to welcome everyone to the show, because obviously without you guys, we wouldn't have a platform. I want to thank the super chats that were donated today. That is greatly, greatly appreciated. But Salty, like I say in all my other shows, when you look to team up with someone, you want that someone to be someone that's special in the community. You happen to be that guy. I was really happy that you first came to me and said, "Listen, Boom, we have to work together. Let's figure this out." You and I put our heads together and we figured out the show, and here we are. I could not do this particular show without you, so thank you so much for being here. And next week we'll be back on your channel. But tell everyone where they can follow you on Twitter. Check out your YouTube channel, and of course, tomorrow night, Saltiest Gaming Podcast will be live again. Tell everyone, brother.
All right. First of all, I want to thank everybody in the chat. Like we said, this show's for you guys. Honestly, like if we miss you in the chat, it's not because we're ignoring you. That's like the most important thing for me and Boom is community interaction. So if we missed you, we apologize. Especially Boom, when you're hosting the show, you got a lot of stuff to juggle, man. You got to keep your topics on point. You got to keep the flow going. So especially like the host, you got to cut the host a little bit slack, because he's very, very busy. But we appreciate you guys, man. Yeah, just let us know, man. If you want to see the show extended, I don't know, tweet it out or something, or I don't know, get some hashtags going, and then we'll try to figure that out. We do appreciate the positivity and all the messages that we've received for the show. We've gotten so much positive responses. It's crazy. But as far as I go, I started a new Instagram. If you guys want to follow me there, I'm going to post some content that will only be found there. So if you have an Instagram, follow me there. It's instagram.com/saltiestgaming. So I posted some cool stuff there already, but we'll be upping that. I'll be on Xbox Nation tonight. Make sure you check that out. Tomorrow's the Saltiest Gaming Podcast, and I might post a video today. I don't know. We'll see. My wife has the day off. We're probably going to go to lunch and stuff. So anyway, it's been a blast, guys. Hope you guys have a great day. And yeah, that's where you can find me.
Excellent, excellent. And once again, Salty, thank you so much. Before I get out of here with Salty, I say this every show, and if you ever been yelled at by Mooch, you can only imagine how loud it is in your earphone. He's constantly telling me, ask the public to not only tweet this out, share with your friends. I do greatly appreciate that. So Salty obviously appreciates that, but I'm going to say this. Please, if you enjoyed today's show, hit the like button. It's one press. It does not take any life points away from you. You won't die 10 years early if you hit it. But I also encourage it if you don't like the show, if you're here for an hour and you're like, you know what, Boom, today's show sucked, hit the thumbs down button. Seriously. Any feedback, regardless whether it's good or bad, is still feedback. And you know what? My DM is open to everybody. If you have something you want us to discuss on the show, hit me up in a DM. If there's something I said that offended you, hit me up in a DM. We'll talk like men. And if it deserves an apology, rest assured that I will give it. But I just want to say this. We had almost 100 people watching live. That is a big deal for this show, considering it's only episode 4. I want to thank everybody once again in the chat. Salty, thank you for hanging out for 60 minutes. And have a fantastic week. I am doing 2 more live shows, Thursday and Friday. Look forward to seeing everyone in the chat there. Have a fantastic day, everyone.